20 years ago, a bloke named Gary Ablett was the best player in the game. Right now, the best player in the game is a bloke named Gary Ablett. They are surely the best father-son combination in football history. Welcome, Gary.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
I have a suspicion that you're probably a bit uncomfortable with the comparison with your father, but you must be a bit flattered too.
Look, yeah, it is. I mean, it is flattering. I've always said, and I've been asked this question a lot of times, do I think I'm a better player than my dad? And to be honest with you, I don't think I'm close. In my opinion, my dad's the best player to ever play the game. Some of the things that he could do, no one else could do. Correct.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, people are always going to have their opinions, but at the end of the day, I'd have to really finish my footy career off very well, I think, to be put up with my dad.
Well, there's no indication that you're not. You've got the Brownlow, you've got a couple of flags, and you've got 4 MVPs as the most valuable player in the competition. They're massive accolades, aren't they?
They are. I think if you'd ask my dad, though, he'd probably tell you that he should have won that many as well. He was just they didn't look after him enough. But
so that story about his highlights tape is true, is it?
It is true, mate. It is true. He uses that same joke every time. I always get a phone call on the way home from a game, and when I've played a good game, he'll call me up. First of all, ask me how my body is, how I'm feeling. I thought you played well today. And he says, "Why don't you call past my house on the way home and come check out the highlights tape? We'll see if we can squeeze one of yours onto there."
Does he? That's good. So the bond between father and son's healthy.
It is. I've always been very close with my dad. I spent a lot of time with him growing up. Spent a lot of time around the Geelong Football Club, and he's someone that I've always looked up to, and. Whenever I get the chance to get back and catch up with him, it's something that's pretty special to me.
What's the tone of your footy chat? Is it about what happened in a game, or is it about more philosophical issues, or...?
Well, it always starts off with him telling me how good he was. So the first half an hour will be that.
Are you serious about that? Does he do that or not?
Yeah, as a joke. Yeah. He just likes to joke around and talk about the good old days, as he likes to call them, the 80s and 90s, and tell me how football's changed and how weak we are these days, and there's no contested ball these days. That when he used to play, they were the good days. So we catch up, we chat about that, we talk about life. You read a lot of things about my dad in the papers, but if you meet my dad, he's one of the most loving and caring, encouraging people you'll ever meet, and he's always been like that with me. He's always said to me, "Mate, I don't care if you play football or whatever you do, with your life. I want you to know that I love you, and I've got your back no matter what."
Great.
As I said, he's someone that I've always looked up to, and someone that is very, very close to me.
What was it like growing up as the eldest son of the biggest name in football and having his name? Yeah,
it was challenging at times. To be honest, Mike, I haven't told a lot of people this, but I actually lost interest in football for a few years there. I stopped playing from the age of about 14 to 16. I loved football up until 14. I was around, as I said, I was around the football club just about every day. Every training session, every game. And then I just lost interest in it.
What, because of the family name, or were there other issues?
It was part that, but I had a couple of really close mates that were spending a lot of time surfing and skating and things like that. So they were the things that I wanted to do. My mates were doing that, and for a few years there, I wanted to be a pro skater or a pro surfer, and football wasn't something that I was really, really too interested in.
So you didn't play? You didn't play at all?
There was a year there I didn't play at all. And then the following year, I played every second or third week. Played some good footy, and then I was picked up by the Geelong Falcons the next year. And then I had to make a choice then, because it wasn't one of those things where I could turn up and play every second or third week. They said, "Look, we'd love you to come down, but you've got to come to every training session. You've got to play every game." And I did, and got drafted from there. What
was the single biggest problem about being Gary Ablett Jr.? Was there one? Was there one in your mind that stood out?
I think it was just all the talk. Even when I went down to the Geelong Falcons, there was a lot of people saying, "Have I been asked to go down there and train because of my name, or have I really deserved it?" And it was the same when I first got drafted as well. There was a lot of talk about whether I deserved to be drafted, and I did struggle with that a little bit at the start, but it is something that kind of motivated me at the same time to prove people wrong and make my own name in football. And it's part of the reason why I didn't take the number 5 as well. As much as it would have been an honour to take my dad's number. I wanted to take my own number, make my own name in football, and been trying to do that over the last 12 years.
Yeah. Well, with that discussion about whether you were good enough, in your own mind, did you have any doubts about whether you were good enough to be drafted? Did it ever occur to you, even in the slightest possible way, that it was because of who you were rather than your football?
I believed I was good enough to be drafted, but when I got to the Geelong Football Club, I wasn't sure whether I was good enough to play, football, AFL football every week. This is something I always say to people when they ask me, what is it that has helped you play such consistent footy over the years? And I just think it's that inner belief. I'm someone that's always believed in myself. I'm a very competitive person. You see so many talented kids, they come into football and they just don't believe in themselves and they don't really reach their true potential. I don't like people telling me that I can't do something. It really
has that happened from your junior days? Were you the
it
same
has,
then?
yeah. I've always been very competitive and very motivated, and I like to prove people wrong, and I don't like to lose. That's the other thing as well, which I've really been struggling with over the last couple of years.
You've had to learn that one.
I have.
Yeah. Did your dad occasionally forget about you at the MCG when you and Nathan were there in the rooms and Couchy and those guys had to take you home?
Look, there's a lot of stories that go around. Some of them aren't true, but that one is true.
That one is true.
Where my dad they had a social function after the game where all the players used to go along to for an hour or so, and he actually left us at that function one time and went home for a couple of hours, and then everyone kind of started leaving and we were the last ones left, and me and my brother were looking around thinking, where's Dad gone? He was here a second ago, and luckily one time I think Lee Colbert was still at the function, and he drove us home, and
that's the
got
sort
home
of
and
thing
my dad
Colby would do.
My dad put his hands on his head. He said, "No, how did I forget you kids?"
Where's he living?
He spends half his time in Geelong and half his time up in Gippsland. He's got family up that way, and he gets up, spends a bit of time with his brothers and his mum. And
I'm hearing that he's got a bit of depression. Is that true?
He's struggled with a bit of depression for a while. I don't think that's something that he's kept hidden. He's talked about it. But yeah, it's something that's been ongoing for a long time. And I think that's part of the reason why he tries to stay out of the limelight, and he's really enjoying just spending time with his family and doing things that he loves to do, and he's very happy at the moment, which is great.
Great. I remember talking to you a few years ago at Geelong, and it seemed you were so far away from even sort of suggesting that you might want to be captain. When did that change in your mind about wanting to actually be seen as the leader of the team?
I spent a couple of years in the leadership group at Geelong, and they had some fantastic leaders down there, and they really taught me a lot. And some of those guys are the reasons why I am where I am today and why I've been able to play the consistent footy that I have. I guess after spending a couple of years in that leadership group, I knew I kind of wanted to take another step forward. And when I got that opportunity at Gold Coast, it was great.
He was ready. Fact or fiction? End of 2006, your boys, those leaders you're talking about at Geelong, sit you down and say, Gary, you're not working hard enough. You should be our Chris Judd.
Yep.
Pull your finger out.
Fact. I grew up on the coast. I was very laid back as a kid. I grew up surfing, and I wouldn't say we're the most social family as well. I'd go to school, I'd come home, I'd have my same group of mates that I'd hang around. So when I first got to the club, I just, I was like, I just used to go through the motions a little bit. I didn't realise, how hard you had to train to kind of make it. I thought I was just going to make it off the talent I had, and I kind of went along like that for 3 or 4 years. Finally the players, I'm glad they could be honest with me, because I'm sure it was a pretty tough thing for them to do, is to sit me down in a room and say, look mate, you're not training hard enough, you're not working hard enough, it's just not acceptable. We care about you, and we know you can be a better player than what you are.
My understanding is you resented it a bit at the time.
I didn't resent it. It was hard to take. Your teammates especially. I mean, they were some of my best mates, and they sat me down and they were honest with me. So it was something that was hard to take. But at the same time, I walked away and I accepted what they said and realised that I wasn't working hard enough, and if I wanted to be a good player and a consistent player, that I'd had to work a lot harder than I was.
Who led the charge at that meeting with you? Who was the most vocal?
Cameron Lang.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And because you would have had a lot of empathy with Lingy, local boy,
Yep.
Falcon,
Yep.
Torquay, all that stuff. So it would have hit home.
Love Lingy. So much respect for him. I've played under, as I said before, played under a lot of great leaders and a lot of great captains, but without doubt, Lingy would have to be the best captain I've played under.
So 12 months after this watershed moment at the meeting, Geelong win the flag, you win the best and fairest.
Yep.
It was a massive day in your life, wasn't it? I mean, you and your brother play in the Premiership team, and you're the best player in the Premiership team.
It was, Mike. It was just amazing to be able to turn it around from not making finals in 2006 to, winning the Premiership in 2007, and to have my brother there was extra special, and my dad in the crowd as well.
So take me to the rooms after the grand final. You and Nathan are there. Your dad comes in. Must have been a moment you'll never forget.
It was. I can just remember walking in the rooms, and my dad had a few tears rolling down his cheek, and he just come up and gave us both a big hug and told us he's really proud of us, and that he had 4 opportunities at winning one, and he could never win one, and it was a pretty special moment for me, and told him I'd cut the medal in half if that makes him happy.
Really? Yeah. Any tears yourself?
I was holding them back. Let's put it that way. I couldn't wipe the smile off my face, to be honest.
Yeah.
We just walked around the ground singing the song, high-fiving, and it was a pretty special moment for me and my brother, and obviously my dad as well. So
there was a special moment. Talking about special moments, there was a special moment between the coach Mark Thompson and Gary Ablett immediately after the siren in 2007.
Yeah.
What went wrong, mate, after that?
There's been a lot written about that, and to be honest, Mike, I think a lot of it's been blown out of proportion.
Let's put it in proportion.
Yeah, well, we had a bit of a disagreement on some contract things. I was negotiating with the Geelong Football Club at the end of or through 2010, and I sat down with Bomber one day, and we had a bit of a chat about the contract, and I said to him, I don't think it's fair, Bomber, that you're kind of jumping in the contract negotiations. Can we just let my manager deal with it and the club deal with it? And we had a bit of a disagreement about that. And that was pretty much it. It got blown into a big thing
But isn't it true, though, that you blokes didn't talk after that?
We did talk. We didn't talk as much as we...
Only in match stuff, didn't you? There was no social interaction, was there?
Not really, but I mean, I don't think a lot of players, really spent a lot of time with Bomber outside of the club. Obviously, he was the coach. And, I don't think there'd be too many players at many clubs that'd be going out, having lunch with their coach.
No, but you were his best player. He loved you. I mean, that picture from the Premiership, it was really soft and touching, about as if two blokes who had given so much for each other and had achieved their dream.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess from the outside looking in, it was just sad that it ended on a sour note.
Yeah, well, I've got so much respect for Bomber. He's a great coach, a really great coach. The way, I played under him for 10 years. He's a big part of the reason why Geelong had the success they did. He, as I said, early days, there was a lot of people around the club that just weren't helping the football club and helping the culture around the club. And he come in there and he cleaned a lot of those people out and got the right people around the club and just built that culture. And won 2 premierships and obviously Scott got the third, but you could probably say that was part Bombers premiership as well, because he'd got the team to where he had. And I've bumped into him since then off the field, and we've caught up, we've had a chat, we've had a laugh.
Like a lengthy chat, or just a hello Bomber?
No, we have. We've had a laugh. We've talked about we've talked about the premiership. We've talked about some of the times at the club, and I'm sure when the reunions come along, we'll sit down and we'll have a quiet beer together, and we'll enjoy those premierships. Are you willing to share with us the matters in the contract that were at issue? Look, I don't want to go into too much detail, but it was more just about, he was saying, I think you should sign now.
Yeah.
And I was saying, there was obviously a few things that needed to be worked out. And yeah, they were pretty much the issues.
You knew this was coming, didn't you?
I did know it was coming, yes.
You're the best player at the best club in the competition and you leave. Now, you explain to me why. You've said before it wasn't just the dollars.
Yeah. It was tough. It really was a tough decision. Geelong Football Club is always is always going to be part of me. You know, I grew up supporting that club for so long, and obviously played there for 10 years. So many great memories, so much success. I got so many great mates down there. So it wasn't an easy decision. You know, I sat down with a lot of people in my life that were important to me, and people that opinion I really respected, and just went over the same thing over and over again, and I just couldn't make a decision. But I just felt like I needed change. You know, I'd been there, we'd achieved so much down there, and I just mentally I was struggling with football a little bit, to be honest.
This is the end of 2010.
Throughout 2010.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the mental side of the game is just as hard as the physical, and it was something I really was struggling with, and it was like, okay, well, do I sign at Geelong and do I continue? And, you know, a year or two down the track, I might not want to play football anymore, you know, because the mental side of it was, I really was struggling with, and I thought, you know what, I think I need to change. I think I need to move somewhere else. I need to move away from Geelong, you know, where obviously my dad had played football for such a long time, and spend some time with some new people, work with new people, and some new challenges. And you know, I look back now and I still think I've made the right decision. And although we haven't won many games over the last couple of years, you know, it's something that I'm really enjoying those challenges, and hopefully we can win a premiership up there.
Last one on this prickly issue for you. You left at the end of your contract and went to the Gold Coast. Bomber left with a year to go on his contract. Did you instantly think at the time that he was hypocritical?
Not really, because I didn't know when he made that decision. You know, look, I don't think he was saying to me, look, I think it would have been supportive, and I think he was supportive, as much as he wanted me to stay at the club. You know, he did actually send me a text message after I'd made the decision to go to the Gold Coast saying, look, mate, I know, you know, there's been all the stuff written in the media throughout the year and things like that, but I just want to wish you all the best. You know, I hope things go well for you up there. And
were you pleased? Did that please you?
Yeah, it did. It did please me.
Midway through 2010, for those of us who believed that you'd committed to go, let's just leave that with you, but that's those of us who had that belief, there was then a story from very good sources that you were wavering and that you were going to back away from Gold Coast and you were happy to stay at Geelong. Does that make any sense to you?
Throughout the year, you know, there was times when I was like, yep, that's the right decision, and then I'd change my mind the next week and go, no, I'm staying at Geelong.
Okay, let's fast forward to the Gold Coast. You're there, let's say 3 months. You homesick?
Very.
Yeah. We heard that, yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt, you know, probably the first 6 months to a year, you know, I really questioned whether it was the right decision or not. But I knew I'd made that decision, I had to live with that decision, and I kind of expected that at the same time. You know, I was moving away from all my family and friends. I was moving away from teammates I'd played football with for 10 years, and I didn't know too many people up there. But at the same time, I really enjoyed taking myself out of my comfort zone and getting away.
You did, yeah?
I did. I mean, I'd grown up around Geelong. All my family and friends were there. You know, I did feel comfortable there, and you know, taking myself away from that, you know, it's really helped me grow as a person, and as I said before, grow as a leader, and it's something that, you know, I wouldn't change my decision.
After the break, Gary, your brother Nathan. That first game against Geelong, there was a lot of conjecture about how you'd be received and how you'd cope with it. Was there any sledging?
There actually was.
Was there? Bartel give you an earful?
Bartel, Mackie, there was a couple of the boys that got into me a little bit, but...
Is there ever a line on the football field that makes you sort of say, look, that cuts a bit, but it's pretty clever?
Oh, look, you had a few of the boys saying, hey, you haven't got us around you now, mate. You're going to have to go in and get some of your own ball.
Did they?
So just little jokes like that, which, yeah, it was a bit of fun. I had a bit of a laugh at the time.
Yeah. I want to ask you about your not-so-little brother, your younger brother Nathan. Played in a Premiership team. He was probably 20 or 21 at the time. Yeah. And he walked away from it. Now, I myself at the time thought, this won't last because he's getting good money, it's a great life, we all dreamt of it. What happened? What was the catalyst for that?
I think he struggled with the pressure, to be honest.
Of being an Ablett?
Of being an Ablett, yeah. And just the pressures of AFL football as well. You know, there's a lot of people that have said, you know, missed opportunity, got so much talent, so many kids out there that would love to be in his position. But I think people have got to understand at the same time it's not for everyone. And Nathan had a very he's just got a different personality. You know, I know he loved Saturday and playing football. But the rest of the things that come with football, he really struggled with that. And I know I was the first person that he spoke to before he made that decision. He gave me a call one day and he said, "Mate, I really need to chat to you about something." And I said, "Sure, mate. I'll drive." He was living in Geelong at the time, and I was in Torquay, so I drove into Geelong, and we sat down at a cafe, and I could tell something was wrong. And I said to him, "What's up, mate? You all good? We've just won a premiership 3 weeks earlier.
Yeah.
Should be happy." And he said, "Look, I don't think I want to play football anymore." And he was walking away from a 2-year contract at the time, and was being paid good money. And I said to him, "You sure this is what you want to do? I know how much you love football and you love playing on those Saturdays, and financially this could really set up your life as well." And he said, "Mate, I'm really struggling," and I would have spoken to him for about 30-40 minutes and tried to talk him into playing because, I love playing football with him. I love spending time with him. I'm very close with my brother, and I knew if he was to walk away from football, that I wouldn't be able to spend that quality time with him. But he made the decision he did, and at the same time, I was very proud of him because it would have been hard for someone to walk away from that.
Now, some salt on a wound, mate. It's not all that hard. 2011 Grand Final. Where were you and how did you feel when the Cats won?
I was in Las Vegas at the time.
Deliberately?
No, I'd planned on going away on a holiday. I went away with a couple of mates. I was actually watching it. I'd organised to watch it at a bar over there. It was very hard to watch it. It really was. I'd obviously won a couple of premierships for those boys, and to seem like part of that side was something that was pretty tough. But I'd made the decision to leave, and I'd felt that was the right decision. So at the same time, I was very happy for all those boys, and I got in contact with as many as I could after the game, and just congratulated them, and I was super stoked for them. I really was.
There's a romantic notion held by the Geelong supporters that at the end of your contract at Gold Coast, you'll come home, is what they call home, play with Geelong and might win another flag. Is it at all possible, do you think?
Well, I'm meeting with Neil Baum today, so we're going to have a go.
You know what? You can't joke about that stuff. You know that.
Yeah, I know. Well, look, I've got another 3 years at the Gold Coast. It's not something.
It'll take you to 31. Then you'll only have about 5 or 6 years left as a small forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not something I've thought about too much.
At all?
At all. No. Look, I'm sure I'll get to the end of those 3 years, and I don't know where I'll be in my life. I might find a girl down here that I'll marry, and I want to.
I thought you had.
Okay, I have found a girl down here. Sorry, sorry, Jordan. But, it's hard to say because I don't know where I'll be.
No, that's fair.
I'm loving it at the Gold Coast at the moment, and I really want to win a premiership up there, Mike.
Now, is it realistic in your mind now? I mean, you've got 3 years to go. Do you think it's feasible that within 3 years Gold Coast can win a flag?
I really do, and I'm not just saying that. I know there's probably a lot of people out there who say, "Come on, mate, you're dreaming." You've got a young side. You're not going to win a premiership in the next 3 years. It's just not possible. But we've got very talented players around the football club. They're players that listen. They work hard. And the other thing as well is, I know when I first got drafted, it really took 4 or 5 years for you to develop as a young guy and understand what it was about. But I think a lot of the younger kids these days, the system they come through, the AIS, they learn a lot about leadership there and a lot about how hard you have to train to make it, at AFL football. And you can see a lot of those kids when their first year when they start playing, they know what it's about. And some of these kids have been very, impressive. There's probably 10 or 15 kids that I could say within the next 3 or 4 years could probably stand up and be captain.
A different tack slightly. You were on the A-list, you and Lauren Phillips were sort of in the paper every second day. When that relationship ended, was that difficult? Did that affect your football?
I wouldn't say it affected my football. Look, to be honest with you, it's not something I really kind of want to talk about too much.
I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Now, whatever the money was that was involved in your move from Geelong to the Gold Coast, I mean, it's ranged as high as $9 million. It's big money, whatever it is. Do you run your own financial affairs, or do you have someone that looks after you in that context?
No, I have people that look after me. I've got an accountant that's a really good friend of mine. I've got Pickers, who definitely takes care of the money. He takes half of it. So he definitely takes care of it. But
do you own all of Main Beach yet or not?
I own half of it. I'm getting there. It's actually a good time to buy it there. The property market's right down.
Yep. The name Dean Robinson, you worked with him at Geelong?
Yep.
He was your, what's fitness coordinator?
Yeah, he was, you could call him fitness coordinator.
When you went to the Gold Coast, he was at Gold Coast before you?
Yep.
You lived with him for some time, didn't you?
I did. I lived with Dino for probably 3 months when I first got up there. Dino, good friend of mine. He was obviously down at Geelong, really good friend of his family. And when I first moved up, he'd moved up the year before. Nathan was living with Dean at the time as well, and Dean said, look, mate, if you need a place to stay for 2 or 3 months until you find a place up here, I've got a spare room here. And
So what do you make of all this stuff at Essendon? I mean, you're not part of it, or you're not involved in it, but from the outside looking in, and I mean, he's certainly been hurt by all the publicity, hasn't he?
There's no doubt he has. I've spoken to Dino since then, and I just said to Dino, look, I just want you to know that I'm always here. I'm a mate, and yeah, look, I don't know what's gone on at Essendon. I don't think many people do. Obviously it's being investigated at the moment, and so I probably shouldn't comment on it too much. But Dino's a good friend of mine, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. And I'm going to support him no matter what.
So your faith in him hasn't been rocked at all?
Not at all. Not at all.
Taggers, I'm amazed at your ability to stay calm, even under the fiercest physical pressure. What about when Stephen Baker was working the young Gary Ablett over? How did you cope with him?
Let's not talk about those days. They were, as I was saying earlier to you, Mike, he was a very, very good tagger. And to be honest with you, there was a couple of times early in my career where I said to Bomber Thompson, it was a week leading into playing St Kilda, and I said to Bomber, oh mate, I think I've got a bit of a sore hamstring this week. I don't think I want to play, because there'd been a couple of games the previous year where I'd come away from the game feeling very, very sore. He'd beat me up a little bit as a young kid, and I think it was about in my third or fourth year where I had a couple of good games against him, and I knew from there I'd got inside his head a little bit, and I don't think he played on me after that.
I asked you about the Scarlet Toe Poke before we go.
Yep.
Sensational moment for Geelong, wasn't it? Sometimes when a grand final turns on an event like that.
It was. It was probably more satisfying than the 207 grand final.
Why?
I think because we had lost the 2-8, or Geelong had lost the 2-8 grand final, and that was really, really hard to take. I think Geelong had lost one game throughout that year, 1 or 2 games. And I think if Geelong had their time again, I think they probably would have beat Hawthorn. Sorry to all the Hawthorn supporters, but I truly believe that. And I know there was a lot of pressure and a lot of expectations going into that grand final. It was like, okay, if we lose this one, 1-1, lost 2, and a lot of the good work's probably going to be forgotten about. You can win 21 games during the season, but if you don't win the grand final at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So there was a lot of pressure, and I can just remember after the game thinking, you little beauty, we've got another one. No one can take this away from us now.
Well, I'm very happy to have spoken to you, mate. You've been fantastic. I love watching you on the ground, and I've really enjoyed the chat we've had today. Good luck for 2013.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
This has been a Fox Footy production for Fox Sports.